there's just so many people that think that acknowledging the problem is the same as like working on it. Like I have heard more arguments than I can count where wife and husband talk about the problem, they identify the problem, the husband says, I'm working on it. 6 months go by, I'm changing, I'm working on it. The fuck you are? Like nothing has actually changed. You're thinking about it, and I know what you mean by that because I did the exact same thing. Identifying the problem, thinking about what needs to change is not the same as changing. Hey, welcome in for another audio newsletter. I'm calling these things Mindset Monday. Short, sweet, something that helps you get your week started, create some things to think about as you're going through whatever the hell it is you're going through that brought you here. I get a lot of emails and I get to sit in on a lot of conversations that most guys don't get to hear, and I consider that a privilege. It's pretty wild to be the only guy in a room when there's a lot of women talking about the relationship problems and issues with their husbands, and a lot of our listeners happen to be women because our show started kind of as me and my wife talked about our relationship issues and how we worked through them. And I told the story about addiction, and she told her story about what that was like for her. And then kind of slowly our show became about that and about that world. So a lot of our listeners are women. Women tend to care more about relationships than men do. That's not a dig by any means. They're more into that kind of thing, right? Whether it's movies or books or whatever. Us guys don't think a hell of a lot about it, but I think where I can be of most use to everybody in the world is talking to other guys that were going through something similar to what I went through when I was struggling with addiction and trying to rebuild my marriage and just become a better guy. And I've not done the best job at really reaching guys. That's where I can only sit here and talk into the ether, into a microphone or a camera for so long before I feel like I'm just really not making really much of a difference, right? It's going to be me sitting down with guys and them taking maybe just one little piece of my journey and something clicks for them and then it changes their trajectory. So thanks for being here. Thanks for sitting down with me. I'm doing video this time for the first time for one of these newsletters, and I don't really care what I look like because these things don't go viral. It doesn't matter. It's just me and you sitting down having a conversation. But a lot of people like to consume media with video, and that's fine. If you want to sit here and watch it, that's great. If you just want to listen in, that's fine too. I got an email recently. A woman was talking about her husband, and this guy's been struggling for a really long time, and he's made some strides trying to get sober. Treatment. I think he tried to go to AA and tried a few other things, and it's just nothing has really stuck. And they're at this point now where he gave her an answer that I know that she wasn't the most thrilled with, but I think it's about the most honest answer you can give. And it's, I don't know what to do. I don't know. Back up for a moment and tell you a story about a friend of mine named Steve. Steve's actually been on our show with his wife, Christine. It's a great episode. And Steve tells a story. I've been meeting with Steve now for like 9 years. And whenever he decided to finally turn his life around and to do something different, there was this moment where he sat in front of his wife and he threw out the D word, divorce. Do you want a divorce? Because they'd just been fighting forever. Steve had been in active addiction for like 12 years. Sometimes we're better than others, but for the most part, this had been a fight, an ongoing fight that they'd been having for years and years and years. And she finally got fed up. His wife got fed up enough. So he throws out the divorce thing, like we do when we're pissed. And it's like, so what, do you want a divorce? And she looked at him with the straightest face ever and said, yeah, I do. She said, I love you more than anybody in the entire world, and you're my soulmate, and I never want to see you again. And he said it broke him. Like he could just see his world spiraling in that moment. And then she followed it up by saying, and in 12 years of all the chances that you had to get sober, why couldn't you just do it one time for your family? And he said he looked at her and he gave her the most honest answer he could. He said, I don't know. Our wives and your neighbors and your in-laws might think that that's the craziest answer in the entire world, but I get it. And I think that you get it too. We don't really know because we don't set out to hurt anybody usually, rarely, if ever, trying to hurt other people. We just want to feel better. And that was my experience anyway. I just wanted to feel better. I didn't like the way I felt normally. I didn't deal with stress very well. I had a lot of anxiety about God, everything basically. And I didn't like the way that tons of responsibility felt, and I'd get worked up, and the only way I ever felt better was putting a substance in my body. And then that became an issue in and of itself. And so my wife and I were not on good terms whenever I decided to check into treatment. But I had that same feeling, like I don't really know why I do what I do. And I really don't know how to fix it either. And I think that that's an honest answer. As stupid as it sounds to someone on the outside who can clearly see the problem, when you're in the middle of it, it's not always so clear. And so I get that. And I'm going to tell you how I got past that. And hopefully you can take something from this and work your way past it too. Because I think that that's an honest and lonely statement. I don't know. It's like wanting to change, but also feeling like it's being stuck. It's painful and it's isolating. And like no one wants to be stuck, right? It's like you're at this jumping off place where you cannot imagine going back to like drinking or using or being the person you used to be, but you also don't know quite what it looks like on the other side of where you are. And you're just like in this abyss, like this middle period that's just awful. And so I think that's a common place for a lot of guys. And I just want to let you know, like, it doesn't mean that you're defective. Like you're in a transitionary phase, but it is important that we act and do something, because spouses don't wait around forever. Like Steve found out, like I nearly found out, like many people find out, because they've got lives too. They've got desires. And it's not like they haven't been loyal. You know, up to this point, they've been with you through the thick and thin. Probably more than we deserve. I know that for me, that's true. And so I'm going to challenge you, but also don't want to be like that dickhead motivational guy that's just a total ass about it the entire time. Like I will challenge you. I hope to motivate you through this. And I think it'll be comforting at the very least, just knowing that you're not alone through this, but I want to give you a bit of a roadmap on what to do next. And so I think that there's this huge misconception that a lot of husbands of our listeners have. A lot of the guys they have, and they think that admitting they have a problem is enough. Like awareness is important, but that's not the point. Having awareness is not like working on it. Like I've been so frustrated watching this from the sidelines so many times where like a husband and wife can sit down and start to talk about the problem. And the first thing they'll do is they're going to deflect, right? A lot of guys will deflect. Well, you have your own issues. Oh, fucking right she does, okay? But how many of those issues are we responsible for as well? If you really back up long enough, you'll see that you played into a lot of this stuff. Like you've always got a part. Everyone does. So does she, but we're not here to talk about her. We're here to talk about you. My thesis here is that when you start to roll this way, when you start to walk the path, everything kind of takes care of itself. And I mean that. It really does once you take full responsibility. Because I think it's another tough part for a lot of guys is to hear that you're the problem. Like you're the issue. Only you have problems. And that's not necessarily true, but you do probably have more of the glaring issues in the relationship without even realizing it. And I mean that without even realizing it. Like a lot of us our behaviors were learned at a young age. They were, molded from previous generations on how we should act and how we should be. And like, guys, more is expected of us today than ever was before. And I mean that. Like, you don't just have to be like a provider. You don't just have to be a protector. Like those are truly the bare minimum these days. And I don't mean to demean the hard work that you're doing. Believe me, I get it. I work 70 plus hours a week as well. Like it's a lot. It's a huge weight on anybody to have the financial responsibility of the home, but you're capable of more. Previous generations got to just quit there. We don't get to do that because we're supposed to be involved fathers. We're supposed to be emotionally intelligent. We'll talk a little more about what that means. We're supposed to be present fathers, and we're supposed to be someone that people can look up to. I don't want to say leaders in the sense that like you should be a leader because you're a man, but I think both people in the relationship, guy, girl, whoever, two people in the relationship should both take turns at doing that, because there's going to be times where you're down and your partner will take charge and lead until you get your shit together, and vice versa. It's important that you have that capability and someone that can be trusted with that. That's huge. Previous generations just got to go to work and come home, man, and do whatever they want. We don't get to do that anymore. I don't think it's a bad thing, and I don't want to go back to the way that things were. I think this is a better, more well-rounded version of what we can actually do and like what we can be. But there's just so many people that think that acknowledging the problem is the same as like working on it. Like I have heard more arguments than I can count where wife and husband talk about the problem. They identify the problem. The husband says, I'm working on it. 6 months go by. I'm changing. I'm working on it. The fuck you are. Like nothing has actually changed. You're thinking about it. And I know what you mean by that because I did the exact same thing. Identifying the problem, thinking about what needs to change is not the same as changing. All right. It's like saying, I'm thinking about mowing the lawn later, as opposed to just saying, I'm mowing the lawn. Like there's a difference between thinking about doing something and then doing it. And oftentimes thinking about it creates a stress and weight of its own that makes the problem even worse. You're either doing something or you're not. You're not thinking about doing something is not the same as doing something. All right. It doesn't mean it's not heavy. It doesn't mean that there's not a lot going on inside of you, but you cannot expect other people around you to take that as enough because it's not. This is a journey that we have to bear on our own, and it's going to be heavy. This is why I insist that you have someone in your life or a group of people in your life that you can share this kind of shit with, because she's not going to want to hear it necessarily, especially if you're on your last inch of patience there. But it's important that you talk about it. But I just need you to know, first of all, that just admitting that there's a problem is not enough. Like that's not even real change. Real change requires actual effort. And visible effort is required before you can expect any sort of praise or recognition. Like, congrats, you admitted you had a problem. Now what? And I also remember at this point in my life just feeling this massive conflict. Because before I actually got help, it was probably 9 months or so before I actually did something about it. Like I always thought that there'd be some event in my life that kickstarted me on this amazing journey of who I knew I could be one day. There was this, as Chris Williamson's podcast, Modern Wisdom. If you don't listen, it's another great one to check out. He talks about this friend of his who was going through some heavy shit in his life. And he said that he always feared deep down that he was a coward. And whenever the time came that he wouldn't actually be able to do what it took to step up, he said, I could always hear the better version of myself clearing his throat in the other room. And just imagine that in those moments where you're challenged by something, you know what you need to do, but you're scared. And I get that. I totally understand that. I did this for 9 months because I always thought that there'd be some event that occurred that would just get me sober. Like the first one was graduating from school. I thought that after I graduated from college, I would just like get it together and start to take life more seriously and chill out on substances and quit taking pills. I quit drinking so much and I would just get my shit together. And then the next one was marriage. I thought that whenever I proposed and got married, that I would just like mature. Like maybe I watched too many movies. I always thought the character arc was something like boy grows up, puts all that shit behind him and lives happily ever after. But that's not really the way it works, especially when there's substances involved. We got married, nothing changed. And then the big one for me was kids, because more than anything in the world, I've always wanted to be a dad. I've always wanted to be there for my kids. Like before I even knew them, before they were ever born, I knew that one day I wanted to be a good dad. I wanted to be like involved with my kids, not just around, not just at the house, not just someone that paid for their shit. I wanted to be like really, really involved in their lives. But that didn't do it either. And in fact, that just made it way worse. These kids are stressful, man. Like there's a level of responsibility there that I was not prepared for. So my use went up crazy whenever our kids were born. And then for the next 9 months, I sat there in what we'll talk about in the stages of change model as contemplation. So there are stages of change. Let me pull this up really quick. I don't want to screw this up. You can look this up as well. Google the stages of change model. And what it really is, it's a roadmap for growth. And it's important that you're aware of this so that you know what's going on inside of you and you know where you need to go. You know where you need to be. And you can also tell when you're slipping back. So we have the pre-contemplation phase, which is essentially denial. Okay. People in this stage don't believe that their behavior is even problematic. So they defend it. They may have zero intention of change. It's like an addiction, right? It's like, I don't have a problem. You're the problem. The problem is that you're a bitch. I've heard that, had that argument. It's not true. You have a problem, okay? The sooner you admit that, the better. Normal people generally aren't defending their drinking. If there was an actual problem, when someone who wasn't a problem drinker and someone brought it to them and was like, I'm really concerned about your drinking, they'd be like, yo, dude, it's not that deep for me. Drinking is not that big of a part of my life. Like, yeah, Like I'll cut it out. Absolutely. Without question, because it's not that deep. I'm not that attached. If you're defending it and putting your marriage and being a parent at risk over it, consider that this is deep. This is something to you that is much bigger than what is just the liquid in the bottle. You know what I mean? So this is someone insisting that they can handle it themselves, or minimizing their drinking or their use or whatever it might be. You're minimizing it. You're making excuses so you can keep doing what you're doing because the thought of change is impossible right now. And you might just be stubborn and you don't feel like changing. I understand that too. And then we get into the contemplation phase. So this is maybe I need to change. This is that moment I had whenever our daughter was born. And maybe I need to change, because at this point, I swore on my life when my kids were born, they would never see me drink. I was raised in a home like that. I didn't want to raise my kids in a home like that. I wanted to be present. I wanted to be 100% present. Like on a good day, I'm a fuck up. On my best days, I'm a fuck up. Even when I'm not drinking. When I'm drinking and using drugs, like I'm intolerable, man. Like I'm forgetting shit. I'm not there for people. I don't remember anything. Forget people's birthdays and shit. Like I'm the worst. I'm just the worst. Like if I'm already like 5 steps off of average, then I need every advantage I can get. And so sobriety was one of those. Like if I was going to perform at work, at the very least, I knew I needed to be sober. Okay. At this point in my life, like I recognized that because I tried everything on my own to stop and I just couldn't. Dude, I used to get online for hours and research shit and watch videos and figure out how other people did it because I was pretty convinced that I could figure it out on my own. And I think and it is a natural thought to have. And I don't discredit anyone that says that they can. Some people actually do. I just find that very few are able to actually do it. They have that kind of agency and willpower where they're able to do that. Also, when addiction takes hold in the brain, it's much more than just like willpower. Like you've literally rewired your brain. Like it is physically changed. Good news, you can rewire it again. Neuroplasticity is an amazing thing, but it's really hard to stop on your own. Really, really hard to stop on your own. So I used to get online and look at the different ways that people would go about this. And I don't know, like naturally I thought I'll just change the way I eat. I'll start taking care of myself better. I'll be more considerate. And that would generally last for like 3 weeks, maybe a month tops. I think one time I was able to go like Cali sober for a couple of months, and that was the best I could do. And then slowly but surely I made excuses and like I found myself back at square one, and then not even back to square one, like even worse than when I started. And that's the typical story that I've heard 10,000 times over the last decade plus, going to treatment centers and being in meetings and getting emails and hearing from other people, their family members that will email me and reach out, text or whatever. And that's the story that I hear all the time. And you're not special in that regard. Very few people are able to figure this thing out on their own. And there's a mind component to this. There's also a biological component to this. And so you're unlikely to outsmart it, but damn it, we fucking are going to try, aren't we? We're going to try everything that we possibly can. We're going to exhaust every option before we have to look at what works for most people. And it's insane to say that, but that's just the way that we generally work. We think that if we have a special mental makeup, and yeah, you failed, but I'm different. I'm unique. My set, the way that my brain works and I make decisions, and you don't know me. Bro, I do. I get you. You're just like me. You're probably just like me. And I'm just like you. What if someone had an answer and it just worked? Wouldn't you like to cut through the shortcut? And especially if you're running out of time in your relationship, like why wouldn't you just go for it? Why wouldn't you just try something that already works? I didn't think that way either. I had to exhaust everything. And so it was like getting online and researching all these different detox methods because I was using prescription opioids. And so detox is fucking painful. Like half the battle of quitting opioids is just the pain, like the physical pain of trying to quit. Like you have restless legs and stomach cramps and you get these hot flashes and you start sweating and then you're freezing ass cold. And it feels like you have the flu almost. And it was like that for weeks. And so you know that just one little tiny pill can make all that go away. It's the temptation is just way too great to not go back. And then alcohol, man, just as bad. Like you feel anxious and jittery when you don't have it. And you know that just like one double of scotch or whiskey or whatever your tonic of choice is it's going to make all that shit go away. And then maybe you look at like exercise and eating right. You look at all these holistic methods on ways to quit, and you're going to try them. You're going to try every supplement. You're going to spend all godly amounts of money trying to stop. And you're probably listening to this because it didn't work. That's my guess anyway. But this is the stage where you're preparing to actually change. Like, I will change. At this point, like, you've committed to change, and you see that the benefits actually outweigh the costs, and you're gathering information in a way that makes you feel like you've got some control over this. And I think that recovery does need to be personal to you. I just need you to see your track record up to this point. All right. You're probably 0 for 100. The chances that you're going to put it together this time without some kind of help, unlikely. Let's just look at this. Just look at that, right? Pretend this is a baseball player and they come up to bat and they're 0 for 10. Like, what are the chances they're going to go 0 for 11 versus hit a home run? Probably not going to get on base. That's just stats, right? What does the pattern say? This is also the point at which people stop. This is the point at which people most of the time talk to their spouse and they're having these arguments like, I am changing, like I'm changing, because it feels like you are, but you're actually not. To the outside world, you're doing the same shit. You're racking yourself mentally inside your own brain. You're tormenting yourself, but nothing's actually changing, right? You're still not showing up fully in the relationship. You're not able to take real accountability for your actions because you don't even know what those look like yet. Maybe you're still using at this point. You're just trying to wean yourself off, whatever it might be, but nothing is actually changing. I'm not trying to discredit your effort, but the burden you feel is totally internal. At this point, you can't expect to get kudos for doing much of anything because nothing has actually changed in the actual relationship, right? Let's say that you're the boss of an office and you have employees that are showing up late like every day. And so you hold a staff meeting. You're like, guys, work starts at 8. I need you here at 8, like in your chair, ready to go at 8 a.m. And the next week, they're still late. You hold another meeting and they start to argue with you. Dude, like, I'm doing everything I can. Like, I even set my alarm this morning. You were late. You were still late. Like, nothing has changed as far as I can see. Like, I'm not discrediting the fact that you're struggling with being an adult and waking up on time. But at the end of the day, like, there needs to be proof on paper that you're changing. And that looks like you being here at 8 a.m. It means you're meeting your marks, your KPIs, whatever they might be. This is what your wife is seeing right now. She's seeing this stage at which you're getting very defensive because inside it feels like you're doing a lot of work. But to the outside world, let's be honest, you ain't doing shit yet. That's just reality, okay? That's where a lot of the hostility comes from because you're going to argue and say you're doing something, but you really haven't changed a whole lot. I need you to be gentle with yourself in these moments, but be more gentle with the people around you because they're not wrong. They're not wrong. Nothing has changed in their life. They're still seeing the zombie walk around the house, completely unavailable to everybody. No motivation, sleeping in, depressed. They're not in therapy. They're not doing anything different to get themselves sober. They're just miserable, but they're thinking about it. So I understand that mental labor is really heavy, but it doesn't mean shit to everyone around you. It just doesn't. But it is an important part of this process. At some point, you have to move to action. Action can look like a lot of things. This is visible change for other people, though. You make a commitment to stop drinking. Let's say you stop on your own. Okay, you're not drinking. People can see that. Man, and like that deserves high fives, kudos. You're putting forth effort. That means something. Maybe you start attending AA or NA or something like that. Like you're going to meetings. Maybe you start attending therapy. Like you're actually doing something. I will say though, you are out of your mind if you think that sobriety is just enough. You guys don't have a drinking problem in your relationship. You have much deeper problems than that. It is fundamental incompatibility sometimes. Sometimes it's a difference in values as you've grown apart because addiction will stunt you emotionally. Your partner's been growing up. They have been. You're basically the same dude you were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and in most of the ways that matter to a relationship because you really haven't been growing up. This is what I was doing, right? When I got sober, I was 27, a day before my 27th birthday. I was the same kid basically that was 17 when I started to use really heavily. Like I had picked some things up along the way and I appeared to be an adult. I had a little gray stubble in my beard, but I was not anywhere close to where my wife was. I think girls are just tend to be smarter than boys anyway. Like they mature faster. And we're always a little bit behind, but like way behind when there's addiction present. So at this point in the action stage, you should be actually doing something, right? You've got a plan, you're executing it, you're actually moving forward. Let's say this lasts for 6 months before you get to like the maintenance phase where now you can sustain these new behaviors for like longer than 6 months, and you're building strategies to avoid going back. Building strategies to avoid going back, that means doing the same things or more that got you here, not getting to the point where you're 6 months doing well and you just quit. That's not the way it works. Like if you wanted to be fit, if you wanted to get really fit, like a couple of years ago, I got really, really fit. Like I was convinced that I was born with like without abs. And so like that was always my excuse, is that I just didn't have the quote unquote genetics for it. No, as it turns out, I just didn't work hard enough for it. But I really, really sought out, like I want my kids at my funeral to have pictures of their old man and be like, dude, that guy was in shape. At one point in his life, like I know he died a fat old man, but he was in shape at one point. And so I sought out to really, really, put the rubber to the road and make this thing a reality. And so I got really strict on my diet and exercise. And like I was really, really disciplined, and I maintained it for like 18 months, almost 24 months, like shredded, like less than 10% body fat. I think it was 8.7 or 8.3 at my leanest. And I did it, and I maintained it because I had a plan, like an actual plan, a written plan. Like this is my diet for the week. Here's my grocery list for the week. You could walk into my kitchen and see what's cooking for the week, executing those workouts, going to bed on time, getting up early, making sure I got my workouts in before the day started, because I knew if I waited till lunch, I would just find a reason not to do it. I didn't have time in the evenings because I'm coaching baseball, I'm doing recovery stuff, I'm doing the show, all the different shit that we do. That's what maintenance looks like. And you keep doing that stuff, right? And relapse is common, but it doesn't have to be. I've always said this, like once I really put it together and I got out of the preparation stage and into the action stage, I have not relapsed one time in almost 13 years. I haven't relapsed. You don't have to relapse. But before that, I relapsed more times than I can count, like probably hundreds of times, because I'm doing something about it now. And I'm still doing the same shit that got me sober. And I never really talk about 12-step much. I know a lot of people think it's a fucking cult, which it would. Okay, I see what you're saying, but I tell you why it's not a cult. Because in cults, people generally do what they're told. And in AA, they definitely don't. It's not a cult. It's culty. It's cultish, no doubt. But it saved my life. And it was the last fucking thing in the world I ever wanted to do. I was in a treatment center, and it was like 12-step based. And I remember sitting there in the first night I was there. And I was an atheist, by the way. I didn't want to hear any of this shit about spirituality or any of that. I just remember sitting in a meeting. It was like 7 p.m. I was drained from a day of like process group and therapy and a couple sessions and all this stuff. And this dude came in, and I could just look at him, and there was a look in his eyes, and it's like, holy fuck, that guy found a way out. Like I could see it in his eyes. He was happy, man. And even if 10% of what he was saying was true about what he used to be like, this dude was like me, just like me. But I could see that he had found a way out, and he was happy. And several of the other people that were there with him had that same look in their eye. And I was like, holy fuck, I never considered that I could be happy and sober. And that became really, really attractive for me. Because I'd been sober, but never happy. And I'd been happy, but never sober. So the middle ground of being both sober and happy was like, holy shit, show me how. How the fuck did you do this? And he didn't introduce it like these like big book thumper guys do. Like he was just like, this is a process that I followed, and it made me a better man. It made me happy. And I don't use anything anymore. And like, I'm totally content with that. And I was like, wow, fucking, I'm in, dude, whatever it takes. I'm in. Like, I will literally do anything. If I could get that, I'm in. And so I dove in, man. I dove straight in. Started working through the 12 steps with him. And I would go to meetings. I think meetings were more than anything, like meetings don't keep you sober. Like if you're just going to meetings, like, fuck out of here. Like that's just mental masturbation, if anything. Like you're just sitting there thinking about stuff, like preparing, like I will change, I will do what that person did or not what that person did, but you're not actually doing anything. Like the actual action is in sitting down with someone and going through that stuff. Okay, that's the action. Just going to meetings does shit. If anything, it just reminds you what's out there for you if you decide to go back out, because you'll hear stories about people that did it. That's why I go now. I don't go because like I have trouble staying sober. Like I'm got that down pretty well. I go now so I can see the scouts come back with arrows in their ass telling me it doesn't get any better. And sometimes I need to see that and be reminded of that. I'm like, oh shit, that's right. This is a guy that had there was a dude that had 13 years and just quit going to meetings, and everyone's not thinking too much about it. Whatever. He's got 13 years. I'm sure he's fine. Maybe just a busy season of life. I don't know. But he decided he was going to drink again. And in not too long, he was back to drinking really bad, lost his job. Wife left him, the whole bit, man. Fuck, I don't want that to happen. So I need to be reminded of that stuff just to keep it fresh in my head. But then for that first year, I went to a lot of meetings. And the reason I went that first year is because I needed it. I needed a routine of some kind that wasn't I needed something to fill my evenings. And I needed to be around other people that were actually trying to better themselves. There's going to be this really lonely period in your life where when you decide to change, you're too different than your old friends that are just drinking and drugging and just doing whatever they used to do. But you're not quite qualified enough to fit in the new friend circles that you aspire to. So you're just in this rut in the middle. And it was important for me to get around just other people who were trying to better themselves and to get to know them. And so I would go to meetings and just connect with other guys and hear stories from other women too, but connected with the guys and started to have real conversations with them. I remember having difficulty parenting because I had zero patience for anything or anybody when I first got sober. I think our daughter was 4 at the time. I remember calling my buddy, my mentor, AKA sponsor, but he's more like a mentor. And I was like, man, I think I suck at being a parent. I was just born without patience or something. And he was like, dude, how old is she? I told him, she's 4. He said, just remember that she gets to be 4. All right. She's allowed to be 4 years old. And it was just a simple thing like that reframed the way I think about parenting in its totality, but I would not have heard it if I wasn't engaging with other people that had been there before and were just trying to be better. I'd never been to a meeting where people were just talking about how to deal with their triggers and shit. No, we're talking about how to be better men. I go to a lot of men's meetings and we're talking about how to be better men. We're talking about difficulty and connecting with our spouses and just opening up and talking about what our actual problems are and not feeling like a little bitch when we open up or that it's going to be used against us and what that kind of trust looks like. How to hold space for people. This is the kind of shit we talk about. So if you think it's just a bunch of losers talking about how they used to drink and wish they could, it's not what it is. And in my experience anyway, if that's been your experience, find a new group. There's also smart recovery, which is more like a cognitive behavioral therapy sort of version of AA, where it takes out the spirituality completely. It strips it of that. And it's talking a lot more about how to create new mental roadmaps for how to act and how to behave and how to check yourself and how to hold yourself accountable. They've also got meetings where people are really just trying to be better people, and they're amazing as well. They've got online meetings, all kinds of different ways to go about it. There's also traditional therapy. I love addiction counselors. I think the work they're trying to do is great, but I don't think that's what you need. Maybe you pair that with something else, but the problem with just getting an addiction counselor, especially early on, is that you're likely just going to hear what you want to hear from them. And they're usually recovered addicts themselves. And so you're just going to get oh, you poor baby, validation, validation, validation. In my opinion, you need less of that. You need more of someone to challenge you and to motivate you and to call you on your bullshit. And a lot of times counselors and therapists aren't doing that. Their job is to validate you, right? Their job isn't necessarily call you on your shit. The good ones will. All right. So if you've got a good one, stick with them, cherish that. A lot of them are just validating you. I'm not a professional. Don't take this as well, that guy on YouTube said. No, man, do what works for you ultimately, but just I caution you with that. An addiction counselor is going to be very, very maybe beneficial to you, you think, but they're going to be not so much to your spouse or partner because they're going to feed them this line of shit that they need to give you more patience and just be more gentle. Fuck that. No, we don't need that. We need to be called on our stuff. And it's not the worst thing in the world that we get called on our stuff. Don't you want a relationship where you can hold one another accountable? Okay, well, this is one of the most important relationships you're ever going to have. It needs to be the same thing. That's just my take on it. My wife and I have a relationship where you can feel however you need to feel. You can have a bad day and lose your shit. That's okay. We can hold space for one another in that. But at some point, we kind of nudge one another and it's hey, let's go. I know that you're in a slump, but I'm here for you and I will pick you up. But you can't treat yourself that way. You can't throw a pity party. You can't do any of that stuff. Oftentimes, addiction counselors and the addiction world tends to do that. And it feels like shit for a spouse or a partner who's been trying like hell to hold everything together, to be told that they're the problem or they need to be held accountable. Like couples counseling, it should be in your future, but maybe just not right away. Maybe just not right away until you get your shit together a little bit better. It's just my take on that. Do what you want ultimately. But I hang on, I have some notes here. I'm gonna look through these. That's right. So again, the goal is not to just become sober. Sorry, to get some water here. The goal is to be a better man. That's what I think. Listen, if you can do both, if you can drink like a normal person and without causing issues, not a major issue in your marriage, and be a better person, like you won. That's awesome. I just couldn't. And I had to face the fact that I couldn't. And that was a really hard thing to admit, but I couldn't, man. I suck at drinking. I have forever. I always have. I really like the way it feels. And so as soon as I get to a certain point, I just want to keep it there. Like if I could bottle that, I used to say like if there was I used to buy a lot of opioids, pills like Oxy and stuff. And I always said like if there was a pill that was like 10 G's and it would give me that like the feeling, the best part of the high before it starts to taper off. If it could give me that for a full year, I would pay whatever you asked me just to keep that feeling forever. Because as soon as it starts to wear off, I try to take more. It doesn't matter if it's alcohol or any kind of pill or drug, whatever it is. I like shit to be stronger, last longer. That's my bit. That's not conducive to being a better husband or a better father, or better at work, or healthy and around for a long time. It's just not conducive to any of that shit. And you just got to be honest with yourself about that. You do. But I think that acknowledgement starts with you and what you know you need to do better. And then I think it needs to sort of flow outward now to your family. And you have to take some really honest self-reflection time here and take responsibility for full responsibility for past actions. And that's the foundation of restoring trust. One of the things that drives me fucking crazy anytime I've ever talked to a guy who's in early recovery or trying to get sober is all they want to fucking talk about are their wife's problems. And I'm like, time out. We're here to talk about you. Okay. I'm not here to talk about your wife. This was my experience right here. I took it as if pretend that every problem in our relationship is because of me. That's actually great fucking news for me because that means I can fix everything. It's all on me. That's easy. I control everything in that regard. What better news could you get? Like I needed to convince myself that all of our problems were because of me. Now, is this actually true? No, but it was damn near true. A lot of the problems that in the beginning, I felt like, dude, she's just a pain in the ass and she's judgmental and she's just uppity. A lot of that was because she had to live with my ass for so long and she was on edge. She was hyper vigilant. She was holding everything together. I didn't see that in the very beginning, but you know now, so there's no excuse. But at the end of the day, pretend that it's all your responsibility and you can fix every bit of it. Don't get fucking sad now and don't feel sorry for yourself and pout and oh me like Eeyore from fucking Winnie the Pooh. Just do better, man. Okay, it's okay. You can fix it now. The world loves redemption stories. Why can't you have one? Just don't beat yourself up at this point and start that shame spiral shit. Stop that. No shame allowed. You can feel it for a few seconds, and then we need to turn it into something that's going to be useful to motivate us, to carry us through. I cannot stand when I get these emails and I hear from people that are like, I just feel so much shame. Okay, I hear you, dude. I know the shit that we've done. When you look back on it, it makes you cringe and you will always regret that the way that you treated other people. But there's a difference between shame and regret or guilt. Shame is saying, I am a bad person. Guilt is saying, I did a bad thing. You can feel guilty. You should feel guilty. Shame? You're not defective, okay? You're not broken forever. You fucked up and now we got to make it right, okay? Pretend that you get dragged into your boss's office and they basically say, hey, dude, you screwed this, and this up. Now, here's your performance action plan. Now you're going to execute this and we're going to be good. They fist bump you and they send you on your way. Isn't that better than saying like you're defective, you'll never work here? Like treat yourself like you're someone that you're responsible for caring for. Would you let your kids treat themselves that way? Would you let your spouse treat themselves that way and talk to themselves that way? So don't treat yourself that way either. Do not treat yourself like you were less than, like you can't come back from this, like it's pointless, because that's not true. None of that shit is true. It's tough for people to acknowledge the harm they've done without spiraling, but I'm asking you not to spiral. Everything that you've identified can be corrected. It can be corrected. It can be fixed. It really can. There's no guarantee your marriage will necessarily work out, because that's got some aspects of patience and things that are out of our control, like how much patience is left in that relationship. You know, there's no telling. There's no telling. There could be, like, I got lucky. There was just enough. Some people don't. They find out that, hey man, we gave it a go, didn't we? We tried, but this just, I don't think I can do it. I would have had time 5 years ago, but I don't think I can now. Even that shouldn't stop you though, because you can still be a great father. You can still live in honor of the previous version of you and what you did in that relationship that you wish you would have done better. And you can live every day trying not to be that guy ever again. But it's also going to take consistent actions over time. A lot of people screw up and they act right for 3 weeks or a month. And now they want, man, like the first thing that a lot of guys want is they want to start emotional, like, or physical intimacy right back up. Like if you're not getting laid at this point, guys, there's probably a reason. Okay. And it's probably because when she looks at you, she doesn't feel safe. She doesn't feel connected to you. She's not attracted to you. And this could be for any number of reasons. All right. We're just talking about you here. I'm not talking about her shit, right? Maybe she's got some of her own shit too. But let's just say we're responsible for everything. What could it be about me? Could it be that we let ourselves go and we're just not taking care of ourselves anymore? That could be it. Maybe it's a physical thing to some degree, right? Maybe it's because of the way we talk to them, because we call them a bitch or whore or slut or any of the other things I've heard you guys heard about it, which stop that, please. Good God. The things that you say are hurtful. You think that makes someone want to sleep with you? Do you think that you're entitled to get someone to sleep with you just because you're married? We earn it every single day. You earn that respect. You earn that closeness and that safety that makes something like that even possible, but it's not a fucking given. All right. You're not entitled to any of that stuff, but be okay with it if it takes a little while to get back to that point. Remember, this is like a new relationship. She is very weary of you, okay? She's been down this road before, and maybe she's turned it on too quickly in the past, and then you slip, and then she feels like an idiot. I don't think, and believe me, we've had shows where we tell people, like, do not use sex as a way to punish and reward. That's just not a good idea. If sex is going to be part of your relationship, it needs to be real, all right? Either you two are just really into each other in that moment and you go at it, or you just feel super close and safe with one another. And that's just how you want to share it. Like it's the deepest, most vulnerable way to express safety, trust, love. But you're not going to get that right away. I think that this comes with time after you've shown some accountability. And it shows consistency over time. Now, what does time look like? I think in general, most people, I'm like a goldfish in the sense that like it's every 90 days, everything kind of starts over for me. I think 90 days of like real actions when people start to feel kind of safe. I think it took us years to get to a place where we were like really, really good with all of this. It doesn't mean that we didn't have some amazing times in the meantime. I'm just saying now looking back, I can see where even a year or two in, 5 years in, 8 years in, there was still work that needed to be done. And that's okay. Like don't let what's in front of you prevent you from being in the now and what needs to happen today. So follow through on your promises, maintain sobriety, whether that means you're attending therapy or support groups, and fulfill your responsibilities, not just to your family, but to yourself as well. This is going to take work. It won't just happen. It's not going to just happen. And you need to have open communication and transparency through all of this as well. Be truthful about your challenges, man. I think one of the hardest things for guys to do is to open up because you feel like it's going to be used against you. I've heard this from more men than I can count. Now, my wife has never done this to me, but I believe you when you say it's happened to you because I've seen it happen on the internet. And I've heard from enough guys now where I believe them. Like I believe that they say this has been used against them. And maybe it goes back to like some of these traditional roles in a marriage, right? You've got like man, like masculinity, like the traditional version of that. And you've got your wife, the feminine and the traditional version of that. And guys are not supposed to be vulnerable. They're not supposed to show their emotions. They're not supposed to open up and just talk about their feelings. Because when you do, now they have the ick, which I fucking hate that term. My God, that's the worst. Ick, like find a better term. You're saying secondhand embarrassment, but just it sounds so childish. Either way, you've got someone who can't handle that. And that's on them. That's not you. And it should not shut you down from talking. It should not shut you down from opening up. All right. Don't make it weird either. Don't like just be a bumbling, crying, insane person, right? Like, dude, handle it with some dignity and some class. Like, just tell them, like, I'm struggling. Like, I'm really struggling. I remember early on, I was, I wanted to come out of treatment. I wanted to be like the best sober person ever. And so I pretended like nothing bothered me. I pretended like I was doing a lot better than I actually was. I remember having a really bad day at the office. I work in logistics. And so like, if there's any guarantee in logistics is that shit's going to go wrong on any given day. And for some reason I woke up thinking nothing would. And my job did what it does best. It humbled me. I remember getting home and I wanted to fucking drink. I wanted to get hammered. I did not want to feel stressed. I was thinking about work and all the shit I had to do and all the money that I'd lost and all the problems that we'd had. And like, how am I ever going to come back from this? I don't even want to fuck with work tomorrow. And I know how to make that shit go away, man. 7, 8 beers, couple pills, hit the pipe, gone. Problem's gone. But I had to feel it this time. I have had to feel my emotions from the beginning all the way to the end for the last decade plus. And sometimes it's really fucking uncomfortable. And I didn't really know how to say it at the time. But my wife was like, what is wrong with you? Because I was trying to fake it and she could tell. She just knows me too well. She knew that I was just trying to hide it. And I just remember I started crying and I was like, I want to get fucked up so bad and I can't. And I don't mean to scare you by saying that. I'm just sharing how I'm feeling right now. This sucks. This sucks. And man, she just snuggled up next to me and she just rubbed my back and, scratched my back and just let me sit there and get emotional for a little while and just sat there with me in it. And then she asked me, what are you going to do? And I was like, I probably need to go to a meeting with those people that I don't want to hang out with, because I always feel a little better when I leave there. And so I took my ass to a meeting and I left and I felt better. At the end of the night, I remember getting home. It was late. I think she was already asleep. We had a little kid at the time, right? So they try to get to sleep as early as possible so you can get some rest between the chaos. But I remember coming home and having so much self-pride and being so proud of myself for getting through that. Man, that was I was like, holy shit, I did it. Like I did it. I got through what I fear would be like some of my worst days. And I did it sober and I did everything I was supposed to do. And I was proud of me. That was huge. And she was too. My wife was proud of me. Even if I gave her the ick, she didn't show it. She didn't let me know that. And if you're a regular listener and you're hearing this, if someone's going to open up to you, and believe me, hey, when you open up also, just talk about you. Don't talk about them. That's not the fucking same. Because I've heard guys weaponize this shit too. When they open up to their wife, all they do is talk about the problems their wife has. Brother, that's not what I meant. I meant to talk about the problems that you're having, your emotions, the way you feel. You can't sit there and wreck somebody else and then be like, well, they told me to open up. No, it's not what I meant. I meant the way you're feeling. And sometimes you're not even going to know how to put like words to it. You're going to be like, I feel fucking anxious. I feel like a failure. I feel like I should be doing better than this. That's okay. That's honest. That's fair. I just need you to know that feeling will pass and you're going to get through this. All right. And wives, if they're opening up like this, don't try to fix it for them. Just be there with them. Just be there with them. Maybe you can ask that gentle question that Paige asked, like, what's your plan? Like, how are you going to handle this? I'll be there for you. I'll support you. I'll be your cheerleader along the way. But like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? You got to ask that question at some point because you're right. Like, there has to be actions. We talked about this. You can't just sit there and say, I don't know. That's not a fucking answer. I don't know. Not in that moment. It is when we talked earlier, but in this situation, you got to come up with better than that. You can't just say, I don't know. Because you do know. You do know. You just don't want to do it. And that's fair. But you're going to do it anyway. I don't care if you don't want to. If you're trying to get shredded and lose weight, I know you don't want to eat chicken and broccoli again, but you're going to. Because what you're after is so much more important than what's going on right now, right? So yeah, open communication, transparency is huge. Just be honest with people. Put forth that effort and be honest along the way. Me and my wife talked a lot about like what recovery was like, and she told me about how she was feeling too. Man, it's tough to hear how we fucked up and be reminded of that. But I just sit there and listen to it because she's not telling me to make me feel bad about myself. And she's talking about the the old me. That's the way I saw it. Old Matt. I fucking hate him too. We can hate him together. She's not talking about me in this moment. She's just talking about how she feels. And I just sit there and I just hold space for it. And I'm like, if I were her in her shoes, looking out those beautiful brown eyes that she has, how would I feel about me in this moment? And in that moment, I can get on her side and be like, oh, totally understand this. Guys, this is empathizing. This is what empathy really is. Understanding how they must have felt in those moments and just holding space for them. And then some kind words about, hear you. I understand how that feels. I can only imagine how that must have felt when I did X, Y, Z. And I promise you, I'm going to put forth effort every day to never be that dude again. And then actually do it. Don't just stop there and saying it. Do something about it. It's also going to take like patience and a lot of persistence to rebuild trust. It's gradual. Like trust it's lost in buckets and it's rebuilt and restored in drops. It's a lot easier to lose it than it is to build it. A lot of times you can build trust over the course of a decade and you can lose it in one night. That's the way it goes. So honor that. Treat it with respect. But it takes time to rebuild it, man. It's like little tiny things over a long period of time. Sometimes it feels invisible, but it's actually doing something. It's restoring safety in that relationship. Your partner might need months or years before they're really ready to be vulnerable again. And I'm just going to ask you, do you think you got it in you to do that? I think you do, but you need to know. You need to know what that looks like. Sometimes it looks really lonely. Sometimes you're the only person in your life who might be seeing these kinds of changes. And that's why, once again, it's important that you're around other people that are going through it. I'm thinking about opening a second community, like online community, Facebook community for guys that are going through it. I'm having trouble because I know that a lot of guys are serious in the beginning and then they fall off. And I don't want to be like a babysitter for 100, 200, or 1,000 people. But I wouldn't mind creating a space where guys can talk to each other and feel like someone's got their back in those moments. And then I can pop in every once in a while and, provide some words of encouragement or some motivation or some challenges or whatever it might be. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but it doesn't exist right now, but they exist in other places. So find one, find your tribe, find people. Maybe it's someone at your church if you're into that. Maybe it's, someone at your office who's really cool, an old friend in life that you can sit down with and talk to this kind of shit about. You're going to need that, man, because they're going to see the changes. They're going to acknowledge them. Sometimes those are huge. You might need to get to family couples therapy. Like I said, I'm not sure how well that works early on. I think that you need to do some work on you first, and then it makes more sense. I just think that I've seen too many dudes show up to therapy and they think that it's like, man, you both got to be pulling in the same direction in couples therapy. Like truly, if you're at a point where you want to be right or you want it to be acknowledged that they're wrong, because those are different things, then it's probably not for you. You get there when you're at a point where you're emotionally mature enough to hear hard shit and still pull in the same direction. You should both be pushing or pulling in the same direction whenever you're in couples therapy. I think when people show up and they're just you want to fight? Okay. Therapist is going to get paid well. They're probably not going to, you're not going to get a lot of work done. Like, I'll tell you why and when therapy is effective, by the way. My best friend's a therapist. And if you're in Texas, check out Taylor Counseling Group. They're awesome. Awesome. They've got online counseling. They've also got like in-person counseling, remote telehealth stuff and in-person. But it's the belief that the therapeutic process can be helpful to the patient. It's the belief that that therapist can help you. And it's a rapport with your therapist. Those are the reasons that therapy is often successful when it's not. It's that you show up and you believe that that person can help you and you like them. That's when it works. If you don't, it generally doesn't work that well. You're going to have a bad experience with it, self-reported anyway. But forgiveness also takes time after, a lot of consistent effort. It's not just, hey, remember that horrific night when you got arrested and we had to have you taken away and you broke everything in the house? Like, it might take a while to forgive that, and you need to be okay with that. But rebuilding respect, like if you want to be respected, do respectable things. It's really simple. It means doing admirable things, helping around the house, investing in your children, keeping promises, showing up sober, prioritizing their needs. Because that's what, to me, love is. It's putting someone else's needs above my own. It is the opposite of what we're wired to do generally, which is to take care of ourselves, stay alive. It's putting someone else's needs above our own. That's huge. And trust is earned through trustworthy actions, not words. Your words mean shit. They're useless at this point. Actions, right? So I would urge you to move from this contemplation phase to preparation and then action, to start to really do something, to do something different. Like you say, I don't know what to do, and that's horseshit. Or maybe it's honest. Okay, so if you didn't know what to do, then what would you do if you wanted to know? What would you actually do? Take some action. Don't just sit there. That's not enough. You keep saying that, you're going to be single before you know it, with alimony and child support. I don't want you to get there. You don't have to get there. Maybe you're past the point of no return. I don't know, but chances are if you're listening to this, you care. You give a shit to some degree. So talk openly with somebody about this stuff and start to make a headway, man. Start to make some headway. I think that change it's unlikely to happen in isolation too. So find a community of people who are around you. And if you're really trying to rebuild trust, like this is a great time to drop a plug here. SoberLink is a sponsor of our show. And I actually believe in the tool. It's a breathalyzer and it's got facial recognition technology. It is tamper proof. Like, it's something that if you get, it's going to, like, you got skin in the game now, right? So before I talk more about why it's useful, just if you're actually interested in getting one of these things, we've got an affiliate link with them where you can actually get 50% off. We don't get paid per device or anything like that. Like, this is really benefiting you more than it is us, but 50% off. Just go to soberlink.com/wheels, soberlink.com/wheels. Okay. So why it's beneficial? If you're trying to rebuild trust, it's unlikely that you're not going to have some nights where they're going to accuse you of drinking and you're going to get in a big fight about it. And you're going to get super butthurt and take it super personally that they've called you out when you're actually trying really hard to stay sober. And maybe you are. Okay. If SoberLink exists, this fight wouldn't either. Put it simply, man, help them help you, help them support you, and also help yourself because you've got this added layer of accountability now. Everyone in your network is going to get that you put in your network is going to get a notification every time you use the damn thing. So there's no hiding from it. They're going to know you're sober or you're not. And these are people that you need to understand what you're trying to do in your life, okay? To be open and honest with them, like I'm trying to be a better man. I think one of the first steps to that is just getting sober. I need you to hold me accountable. Okay, well, you got to hold yourself accountable to some degree too. You got to blow on that device. You know that you've got a test coming up. I don't care how bad you want to drink. Would you rather be humiliated? No. All right, that does help in those moments. It's not everything, but it is something. The best apology of all time is change behavior, but this is going to help you drop some more droplets in that bucket of trust. All right. So that can be helpful. But I think that you already know what most of these changes need or look like to help rebuild trust in that relationship. Like I knew what they look like. I'm not stupid. I knew that I had talked a lot of game and never really done anything about being a present father. Like, dude, I wanted to be close with my kids, like close. Like I wanted them to tell me about like their friend drama and their school drama and about the boys or girls that they're seeing. And I wanted to be involved. I wanted to coach their teams. Like I wanted to be like that guy. I wasn't doing any of that shit. So I knew that in order to get there, I had to start actually doing that stuff, which meant like when they were little, like spending time with them, man, doing things with them. Sometimes just being responsible for them when they were home and letting my wife go do something else, like showing that I could be trusted, but also building an actual relationship with my kids. That was important to her. What was also important is that we were close together, that she could feel safe around me, and she didn't. I knew that safety had to start with my temper and my anger issues and everything else. And I had to show her over time that I could behave differently. Like someone ran over our mailbox. We've got like a brick mailbox on the street, and someone was delivering firewood across the street and they smashed the mailbox. And I got home and my wife was with me and I found the mailbox like crushed to pieces. And I was just like, oh, that sucks, man. Oh, shit. Went out there, just started cleaning it up. And she was like, she acknowledges like, holy shit. Like that is so different than the way that you used to act. Dude, I'd have been flipping out, screaming, throwing shit, checking cameras, hunting someone down, get your ass over here and pay for this. Nothing like that. I handle life differently now. A big part of that's because of the program I work. And I hold myself accountable to. I just don't get, stuff just doesn't bother me anymore like that. It just is what it is. Like I haven't been cut off in traffic in 12 fucking years because I just let them in now. It's really easy. these little things like that help her feel safe around me, like someone she can rely on, confide in, someone who's not going to fly off the handle and criticize her and say a bunch of ugly, mean things. And I think that people have to have more positive experience than negative experience with this over time for us to feel, or for them to feel safe around us. Like, it's not going to happen in 6 months. Get off your high horse. It may not even happen in a year, but keep doing the deal. It may not even save your marriage, but at least you're better, right? Like, there's no way you can't win here in some way. You're either going to be a man that you can look at in the mirror and say, I like you, or you could save your marriage. One of the two things will happen. Your kids will respect you. They'll admire you. They'll care about you. They'll want to confide in you. You will be someone people want to be around. That's an amazing thing. I think it is anyway. And it's not as difficult as you think. But I think you should decide on what stage you're in right now and then take one small step toward action. And hey, man, I would love to hear what you're doing. You can email me. My email address, it's Matt, M-A-T-T, @twfocouple.com. Let me know. I may not respond, but I still want to know. I want to know what stage you're in, what you identified, what you're going to do differently. And I just, like I said, man, I just know that so many guys know what needs to be done. They just don't want to fucking do it. And I don't know is the way that we express that, but you know. Man, I hope that everyone gets our end result, fully understanding, acknowledging that very few people will. But like I said, I think on a man-to-man level, you can win regardless of your relationship status here, because if you've got kids involved, you're still going to have to be a good dad to those kids. And that matters. And then maybe your next relationship, that matters. Maybe the relationship you have with those kids' mother matters. All this stuff matters, okay? So it's not the end of the road. At the end of the day, don't you want to go to bed proud of the person that you are? Be able to say, all right, I behaved differently. I did something I never thought I could do. That feels amazing. You just feel proud of yourself. You take self-pride in that. And I wish that for everyone, regardless of the relationship status. So I hope it's helpful in some way. I hope that you can take just one thing away from this, whether it's through the stages of change model, whether it's having this aha moment that, oh shit, I've been thinking about this and I haven't actually done anything about it. And maybe I've presented 12-step in a different way that makes it seem like slightly more attractive, or smart recovery or therapy or something to that effect. But just fucking do something, man. Do something. You're not going to fix this with the same thoughts and ideas that created it. They're going to have to change. They are going to have to change, okay? If it's stubbornness that's standing in your way, come on. Move off of that. What good is that? What good is that going to do? And treat yourself like someone that you're responsible for caring for. If you've been through a lot and that's what led you to this point, if you could go back in time and tell that young kid something different, what would it be? Think about that. Cherish the relationship you have with yourself, because that's ultimately the relationship that we're going to have with other people around us. So wish y'all well. Hope it was helpful in some way. Until next time, I'm Matt.